Hello everyone, this is Asra Sultana, Assistant Professor in Triply Department, working in ISL Engineering College. I am taking the subject High Voltage DC Transmission for Triply Final Year students. So in the previous classes, I have discussed about comparison of AC and DC transmission, introduction of HVDC and applications of DC transmission, kinds of DC links. So the various types of DC links which I have studied, which we have seen in the previous class, that is monopolar link, bipolar link, and homopolar link. Okay. So monopolar link will have only one conductor, which is usually of negative polarity, and it will use ground or C return, or sometimes metallic return is also used. Bipolar link has two conductors, one is positive, other one is negative. Each may be a bundled conductor in EHV lines. Each terminal has two sets of converters of identical ratings, which can be connected in series on the DC side. So the junction between the two sets of converters will be grounded at one or both the ends. Normally both poles operate at equal set of converters. So there will be zero ground current flowing under these conditions. Next, third one will be homopolar link. So first one is a monopolar link. Second one was bipolar link. Third one is homopolar link. Homopolar link will have two or more conductors, all having the same polarity, and usually the polarity will be -1, and it is always operated with ground or metallic return. Because of the desirability of operating a DC link without ground return, bipolar links are most commonly used. Okay, out of the three types of links, out of monopolar, bipolar, and homopolar, bipolar links are mostly used. Homopolar link has the advantage of reduced insulation cost, but the disadvantage of earth return outweigh the advantages. Corona effects in a DC line will be less with the negative polarity of the conductor as compared to the positive polarity. Monopolar operation will be used in the first stage of the development of bipolar line, as the investments on converters can be deferred until the growth of load, which requires bipolar operation at double the capacity of a monopolar link. Then we have seen how a monopolar link looks like, a bipolar and a homopolar, and various units like converter unit, converter station, converter transformer, filters, reactive power source, smoothing reactor, and DC switchgear. So all these things we have discussed in the previous class. So converter station, what is a converter station? The major components of HVDC transmission system will be converter station, where conversion from AC to DC and DC to AC are performed. So whenever it is AC to DC, it is a rectifier station, and from DC to AC, it is a inverter station. Point-to-point transmission requires two converter stations. So role of rectifier and inverter station can be reversed by suitable converter control. Next, we have seen converter unit. Converter unit consists of two three-phase converter bridges. It will consist of two three-phase converter bridges which will be connected in series to form a 12-pulse converter unit. So total number of valves in such a unit will be 12. And the valves can be packaged as a single valve, double valve, or quadrative arrangement. Okay, 1, 2, 4, like that, etc. Each valve is used to switch in a segment of AC voltage waveform. Converter will be fed by converter transformers connected in star-star and star-delta arrangements. Valves can be cooled by air, oil, or water. Liquid cooling using deionized water is more efficient and results in the reduction of station losses. Next, we have seen about converter transformer. Converter transformer can have different configuration: 3-phase 2-winding, or single-phase 3-winding, or single-phase 2-winding. The valve side windings will be connected in star and delta with neutral point ungrounded. On the AC side, the transformers will be connected in parallel with the neutral grounded. Leakage reactance of the transformer will be chosen to limit the short circuit currents through any valve. Converter transformers will be designed to withstand DC voltage stresses and increased eddy current losses due to harmonic currents. One problem that will arise is caused by the DC magnetization of the core due to unsymmetric firing of valves. Then we have seen filters. So three types of filters will be used: AC filters, DC filters and high frequency filters. AC filters are passive circuits which are used to provide low impedance shunt paths for AC harmonic currents. Both tuned and damped filter arrangement can be used here. Then DC filters are nothing but similar to AC filters and they are used for filtering DC harmonics. High frequency filters are connected between the converter transformer and the station AC bus to suppress any high frequency currents. Sometimes they will be provided with high voltage DC bus connected between DC filter and DC line and also on the neutral side. Then we have seen reactive power source. Converter station will require reactive power supply that is dependent on the active power loading. This is due to the fact that current drawn by a line commutated converter can only lag the supply voltage. So part of this reactive power requirement will be provided by AC filters. In addition, shunt capacitors, synchronous condensers and static VAR systems, SVC or STATCOM can be used depending on the speed of control desired. Next is smoothing reactor. Sufficiently large series reactor will be used on DC side to smooth DC current and also for protection. Reactor will be designed as a linear reactor and it will be connected on the line side, neutral side or at some intermediate location. Then we have seen DC switchgear. So this is usually a modified AC equipment used to interrupt small DC currents. DC breakers or metallic return transfer breakers MRTB can be used if required for the interruption of rated load currents. So in addition to the equipment which we have seen above, AC switchgear and associated equipment for protection and measurement are also part of the converter station. This will include DC current and voltage transducers. Transducers are also used apart from all these above whatever we have discussed. Okay students, so in today's class we are going to discuss about planning for HVDC transmission and modern trends. So contents will be what? We are going to discuss it about cost, technical performance, reliability and power semiconductors and valves. So whenever we are planning for a new HVDC transmission system, there are some factors which have to be considered, that is cost, technical performance and reliability. So these are the three factors which we have to consider when we designing a new or when we are planning for a HVDC transmission system. So last two factors, that is technical performance and reliability, are considered as constraints that to be met and minimum cost option will be selected among various alternatives that will meet the specifications of technical performance and reliability. So for submarine cable transmission and interconnecting two systems of different nominal frequencies, choice of DC is obvious. So in other cases, choice can be based on detailed techno-economic comparison. Okay students, so what are the various factors? Cost, technical performance and reliability. So system planner must consider all these three factors before planning a new HVDC transmission system. So the considerations in the planning for DC depends on the application. Two applications can be considered as a representative. Okay, what are they? One is long distance bulk power transmission. Another one will be interconnection between two adjacent systems. Okay, so two applications which are considered as representative are long distance bulk power transmission and interconnection between two adjacent systems. So when we see the first one, long distance bulk power transmission, DC and AC alternatives for the same level of system security and reliability are likely to have the same power carrying capability. So the cost comparisons would form the basis for the selection of DC or AC alternative if the requirements regarding technical performance are not critical. So next one is interconnection between two adjacent systems. So here AC interconnection poses several problems in certain cases, and for the same level of system security and reliability, capacity of AC interconnection will be much more than that for DC. So even ignoring the beneficial aspects of DC power modulation. So the choice for DC interconnection will be based on the following considerations. First one will be small fluctuations in the voltage and frequency do not affect the power flow, which can be set at any desired value. Okay, first one is what? The choice for DC interconnection is based on the following consideration. First one will be small fluctuations in the voltage and frequency do not affect the power flow, which can be set at any desired value. Second one will be system security can be enhanced by the fast control of DC power. See students, in this diagram we can see different configurations for asynchronous interconnection, that is two terminal DC link. First one is two terminal DC link, second one is back to back DC link along with AC feeder, and third one is back to back DC link at border. Okay, so having settled on the DC link for interconnection, there will be three possible configurations. Two terminal transmission. First one is a two terminal transmission where each terminal is located at a suitable place somewhere within the network and connected by a DC overhead line or cable. Second one will be what? A back-to-back HVDC station, also called as HVDC coupling station, which can be located somewhere within one of the network and an AC line from the other network to the common station. Third one will be a back-to-back station located close to the border between the two systems. So this is the special case of above case. Okay. So in this diagram we can see all these three links. That is first diagram is showing a two terminal DC link. Second one is showing a back-to-back DC link along with AC feeder. Third one is showing the back-to-back DC link at border. So three types of interconnections possibility are there. That is two terminal transmission, and second one is a back-to-back HVDC station with AC feeder, and third one will be back-to-back DC link at border. Okay students. So in the choice between the first and the second configuration, so converters cost will be less for the common coupling station and the AC line cost will be greater than the DC line cost. If the distances involved are less than 200 kilometers, second configuration is to be preferred. If the short circuit ratio, that is SCR, is acceptable, then the third alternative can be most economic. Okay students. The specifications and design of DC system will require understanding of various interconnections between the DC and AC systems. Interruption or reduction of power in a DC link can occur due to DC line faults and AC system faults. Okay, so interruption of power in a DC link will occur due to DC line faults and AC system faults. So the speed of recovery from transient DC line faults is of the concern in maintaining the integrity of the overall system. The power flow and stability studies are used in this context. Recovery of DC link from AC system faults is more complex, and the depression of AC voltage at the inverter bus can lead to commutation failure and loss of DC power. DC power will be ramped up on the clearing of the fault. Too fast an increase in DC power output can lead to the reduction of AC voltage and failure of commutation. So optimum rate of increase in DC power can be determined from stability study. This will be influenced by control strategy and system characteristics. So following aspects will require a detailed study of the system interactions. First one is VAR requirement of converter stations and voltage stability. Second is dynamic overvoltages. Third is harmonic generation and design of filters. Fourth is damping of low frequency and subsynchronous torsional oscillations. Okay, one more factor can be considered, that is carrier frequency interference, which is caused by spiky currents in valves due to discharge of stray capacitances and snubber circuits. Converter control plays a major role in these interactions, and the control strategy should be such as to improve the overall system performance. Digital simulation and HVDC simulators are used for planning and design studies. Now let us see what will be the choice of voltage level when we are planning for a HVDC system. For long distance bulk power transmission, voltage level will be chosen to minimize the total cost for a given power level. And the total cost include investment cost and cost of losses. That is, investment cost we can denote by C1, and cost of losses we can denote by C2. So investment cost per unit length can be modeled as C1 is equal to A naught plus A1 NV plus A2 NQ. What will be V? V is the voltage level with respect to ground. N will be the number of conductors. Q will be the total cross section of each conductors. A naught, A1, A2 will be the constants. So cost of losses per unit length will be given by C2 is N into P by NV square rho TLP by Q. Rho is the conductor resistivity, T is the total operation time in a year, L will be the loss load factor, P will be the cost per unit energy, and C2 can be simplified as C2 is equal to A3 into P by V square into rho by NQ, where A3 is TLP. So after minimization, the sum of C2 and the third term C1, we can write NQ will be root of A3 P rho by A2 into P by V, or J is equal to P into NQV by NQV, that is equal to root of A2 by A3 P rho. So total cost can be written as C is equal to C1 plus C2, that is A0 plus A1 NV plus 2 root A2 A3 rho P by V. So voltage level is chosen to minimize C. Okay, we have to choose the voltage level in such a way so that the cost can be reduced. Okay, students. So in case of back-to-back DC ties, line cost will be absent, hence voltage level will be chosen to minimize converter cost. So this level is generally much lower than that in the presence of a overhead line. So now let us see the modern trends in HVDC technology. The continuing technological development in the areas of power semiconductor devices, digital electronics, adaptive control, DC protection equipment have increased the pace of application of DC transmission. Major contribution of these developments is to reduce the cost of converter stations while improving the reliability and performance. So first one, let us see the power semiconductors and valves. The cost of the converters can come down if the number of devices to be connected in series and parallel can be brought down. Size of the devices has gone up to 125 mm in diameter, and there is no need for parallel connection. Okay, students, we were discussing about the power semiconductors and valves. So cost of converters can come down if the number of devices to be connected in series and parallel can be brought down. Size of the devices has gone up to 125 mm in diameter, and there is no need for parallel connection. So increasing the current rating of the devices has made it possible to provide higher overload capability at reasonable cost and reduce the lower limits on transformer leakage impedance. So power factor can be improved. Voltage ratings are also on the increase. Development of direct light triggered thyristors, that is LTT, should also improve the reliability of the converter operation. Cost of the valves is also reduced by the application of zinc oxide, gapless arresters, and protective firing methods. Valve design with a suspended valve structure ensures safety in seismically active locations. Power rating of thyristors is increased by better cooling methods. Deionized water cooling has now become a standard and results in reduced losses in cooling. Power rating of a 12 pulse converter unit has increased up to 3000 megawatt at 500 kV. LTT valves rated at 125 kilovolt 2400 amps are used at Sukuma frequency converter station in Japan. As forced commutator converters operating at high voltages are uneconomic, the development of devices that can be turned off by application of a gate signal would be desirable. Gate turn-off thyristors, that is GTO, are already available at 6 kV and 4000 amps. However, main disadvantage of GTOs is the large gate current needed to turn them off and low switching speeds which do not allow pulse width modulation. So another device, that is IGBT, insulated gate bipolar transistor device, requires much less power to turn off and has high switching speeds. IGBT converters will be available at plus or minus 150 kilovolt and 350 MVA rating. Switching speeds up to 2 kilohertz are feasible. Now let us see converter control. Development of microcomputer based converter control equipment has now made it possible to design systems with completely redundant converter control with automatic transfer between systems in case of a malfunction. Not only the force outage rate of control equipment is reduced, it is also possible to perform scheduled preventive maintenance on the standby system when the converter is in operation. The use of mini simulator will make it feasible to check vital control and protection functions. Microcomputer based control also has the flexibility to try adaptive control algorithms or even the use of expert systems for fault diagnosis and protection. Control and protection will require measurements of direct current. Traditionally, direct current is measured using transducers of zero flux type based on magnetics, which are bulky and prone to problems during transients. Now let us see about DC breakers. With the development and testing of prototype DC breakers, it is possible to go for a tapping an existing DC link or the development of new MTDC system. Parallel rather than series operation of converters is likely as it allows certain flexibility in the planned growth of a system. DC breaker ratings are not likely to exceed the full load ratings as the control intervention is expected to limit the fault current. The control and protection of MTDT systems is not a straightforward extension of that used in the two-terminal DC systems. Possibility of decentralized control necessitated by the communication failure, coordination of control and protection are some of the issues currently being studied. Conversion of existing AC lines. So the constraints on ROW are forcing some utilities to look into the option of converting existing AC circuits to DC in order to increase the power transfer limit. There could be some operational problems due to electromagnetic induction from AC circuits operating in the same ROW. An experimental project of converting a single circuit of a double circuit 220 kilovolt line was commissioned in 1989-1990 in India between Lower Silero and Barsur. It is feasible to convert a double circuit AC line to a bipolar HVDC line with substantial power upgrading. Next is operation with weak AC systems. Strength of AC systems connected to the terminals of a DC link is measured in terms of short circuit ratio, SCR. Okay, SCR can be defined as short circuit level at the converter bus divided by rated DC power. If SCR is less than 3, AC system is said to be weak. The conventional constant extension angle control may not be satisfactory with weak AC system. The recovery of inverters following the clearing of fault in the connected AC system can also be problematic. Constant reactive current control or AC voltage control have been suggested to overcome some of the problems with weak AC systems. The use of fast reactive power control at the converter bus by applying static VAR systems is another alternative. Limiting dynamic overvoltages through converter control during load rejection is becoming a standard practice. The power modulation techniques used to improve dynamic stability of power systems will have to be modified in the presence of weak AC systems. Coordinated reactive and active power modulation has been suggested to overcome the problems of voltage variations that can limit the effectiveness of power modulation. Next, we will see active DC filter. In the 90s, a hybrid filter made up of an active filter that is based on voltage source converter in series with the passive filter has been developed to improve the filtering of harmonic currents flowing in the HVDC lines. So the active filter can eliminate both characteristic and low frequency non-characteristic harmonics. Both Siemens and ABB have supplied active filters. In India, Chandrapur Padghe HVDC project uses an active filter in each pole. Next is capacitor commutated converter CCC. This involves the connection of commutation capacitors in series with the valve side windings of the converter transformer. This is not strictly a new technology and has been studied under the label of forced commutated converters. Advantages of CCC are improved voltage stability when operating with weak AC systems, reduced risk of commutation failures, less load rejection over voltages, and reactive power requirements. The CCC can be combined with AC filters that have low reactive power ratings, and these can be automatically tuned passive filters or active filters. The CCC technology was first applied in Garabi BTB project for power exchange between Argentina and Brazil. This is rated at 1000 megawatt and SCR can be as low as 1.5. Another project incorporating CCC is a 200 megawatt station at Rapid City, Dakota in USA, commissioned in 2003. Next is UHV DC transmission. Ultra high voltage UHV DC transmission at plus or minus 800 kilovolt is being considered for transmission of large blocks of power above 3000 megawatt for distances beyond 1500 kilometers in China, India, South Africa, and Brazil, where large hydropower resources available in remote areas are developed. A bipolar HVDC line operating at plus or minus 800 kilovolt can transmit power in the range up to 5000 or 6000 megawatt with two 12 pulse converters per pole. It is claimed that information currently available on the flashover and withstand characteristics of air gaps is adequate for design of plus or minus 800 kilovolt systems. Thyristor ratings may have to be increased by adopting 6-inch diameter wafers. Students, whatever topic I said in today's class, difference I have taken from the textbook HVDC Power Transmission System New Age International Private Limited, and the author is Padiyar KR. So in this textbook, as I said earlier, all 5 units are present. You can refer this book to get a good knowledge of HVDC transmission. Okay students, I hope everyone understood today's topic. So let me just revise it, whatever we have studied in today's class. So we have studied in today's class about the planning for HVDC transmission and modern trends. Planning for HVDC transmission and modern trends we have studied. So what are the factors to be considered before we plan for HVDC transmission system is cost, technical performance and reliability. Okay. So technical performance and reliability will be considered as constraints to be met, and the minimum cost option is selected among various alternatives that will meet the specifications on technical performance and reliability. So the two applications which can be considered as representative are long distance bulk power transmission and interconnection between two adjacent systems. Okay students, then we have seen uh, the choice for DC interconnection will be based on the two considerations, that is, small fluctuations in the voltage and frequency do not affect the power flow, which can be set at any desired value, and second one will be system security can be enhanced by fast control of DC power. Okay, then we have seen there are different configuration for asynchronous interconnection. In this first diagram is showing the two terminal DC link, second one is showing back to back DC link along with the AC feeder, and third one is showing back to back DC link at border. Okay, so two terminal transmission where each terminal is located at a suitable place somewhere within the network and connected by DC overhead line or cable is the first one, that is two terminal DC link. Second one is back to back HVDC station, also called as HVDC coupling station, which can be located somewhere within one of the network and an AC line from the other network to the common station. Third one will be what? Back to back station located close to the border between the two systems. Then what we have seen, interruption of power in a DC link can occur due to DC line faults or AC system faults. And following aspects require a detailed study of the system interaction, that is VAR requirements of converter station and voltage stability. First one, second one is dynamic over voltages, third is harmonic generation and design of filters, fourth is damping of low frequency and subsynchronous torsion oscillations, and fifth one will be carrier frequency interference caused by spiky currents in valves due to discharge of stray capacitances and snubber circuits. And choice of voltage level also we have seen. Okay, next is modern trends in HVDC technology we have seen. So in this we have seen power semiconductors and wires, converter control, DC breakers, conversion of existing AC lines, operation with weak AC systems, active DC filter, capacitor commutated converter, that is triple C, and UHV DC transmission. Okay students, thank you for watching the video. I hope everyone understood today's class. If you have any doubts, you can ask me students. Thank you everyone for watching the video.